This is a storeroom function knob. It operates by key only from the outside. It always remains locked, so you'll always have to have a key in order to get into the door. And as far as getting out, you can always make an exit just by the turn of a knob. And I'll show you how to take this particular knob off and put it back on just for installation purposes. Okay, step one of removing this particular piece of hardware, there's a pin right in here. It's a retaining pin, and you push in on that with a tool with a little pin on it, and then pull the knob and just set that knob aside. That's step one. We'll move on to step two. Okay, step two, we're going to remove this bevel, and I'm going to tilt this lock to the side. Of course, it's on the door, you can't do that, but this gives us a clear view of this slot right here. What you want to do is pry out on that slot, and then at that point we're going to push towards this corner, and that'll pop the bevel off. Now we're going to move on to our next step. Okay, step three, we're going to remove this top and bottom screw. There's one. There's two. And then we're going to take this and set it aside. And we'll move on to our next step. Okay, step four. Now that there's nothing holding this in place, just simply rotate a little bit and pull outward. And that'll work its way completely out. And now we're going to remove our latch. 2 screws. So that is your final step. Now we're going to reassemble. Now when you're installing this particular style of latch, what you have to decide is which direction is the door going to be swinging. If the direction of the door goes this way, of course you want the latch to correlate with that, or vice versa. So if it's going to be swinging from this direction, then of course you want the latch to face the door frame itself. But for this purpose, we're just going to go ahead and install it like this. This is step one. Just a simple 2-screw process. Now we'll move on to our next step. Okay, with step two, you want to pay close attention to 2 things. There's a lip here and a lip here. And then there's a lip here and here. Those 2 lips have got to line up when you're installing your knob. And then just give it a little push. And at this point you're going to check for operation with the key, because the knob will not turn because it's a storeroom function. Everything seems to be functioning fine, so we'll move on to our third step. Okay, step 3, as you can see, it's clearly labeled top, and there's also a little spring that stands out from the face. So make sure you don't install it like that. Install it with this little spring facing outward. And we're going to get these screws finger tightened first, because threading is very delicate sometimes with knobs and levers. You definitely don't want to use an impact driver just to get screws started that could possibly get stripped out. Alright, we'll move on to our next step. Okay, step 4. If you look very carefully, you can see a little indentation right there on this bevel. That is where that spring is going to fit. And what you want to do is you want to kind of put this on diagonally and line that up with that spring. And now that that is lined up, I'll give you this view as well. There's a little indentation right here. There's a little lip that's got to be pushed over. And now your bevel is now installed. We'll move on to our last step. Okay, step 5. And for step 5, pay very close attention to this little dimple on the side of the spindle of this knob. And what we're going to do is we're going to line that depression up with this channel and then just push the knob on. You're done, just like that. Give it a little tug just to make sure that it's in place, and it is. And then check for operation, of course. And there you have it. The LSDA Grade 2 Storeroom Function Knob from lockpeddler.com. Buy as many as you like.